Hello and welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and today I'm doing my 7-day review for the AMD 7800 XT. So if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. There will be some benchmark videos in here from 3D Mark while I'm still talking, just so I could show you guys, what this card is actually doing. There was like 3 benchmarks that will be running during this. So I hope this does good. So I want to talk about the RX, the XFX RX 7800 XT. I've had this as my daily driver now for the last 7 days. I've had plenty of time to try out multiple games. I've tested all 3 resolutions. I've tested 1080p. I've tested 1440p. I've tested 4K. And not just on old games. I've tested these on the newest games that have come out. I've tested it on Remnant 2. I've tested it on Hogwarts Legacy. I've tested this on, like the newer games that have just came out over the last month. Like Assassin's Creed. I've tested it on Baldur's Gate 3. I've tested it on every single new game that I've got. RoboCop. Let's see, what else do we got in here? Let me just pull this up real quick so I can show you guys the games, or at least tell you guys. I've tested it on Armored Core 6. I've tested it on Assetto Corsa Competizione, Automobilista 2, Baldur's Gate, Modern Warfare 3, Cyberpunk. What else do we got in here that's new? Ghost Runner 2. Just everything. Alan Wake 2. So yeah, I've put this card through its paces as a real gamer, trying to figure out if this card is going to be worth your money or worth your time. I can honestly sit here and tell you, without any regret, without any regard, or any type of any type of feeling, like I don't feel negative about this card in any way, shape, or form. It performs very well at 1440p. That is pretty much the selected resolution for this particular card. That's what I bought it as. That was my understanding of, like, hey, when I buy this card, this is what it's going to be. This is what it's going to do. And then when I'm trying it on 4K, like, the results of that thing are very surprising. I'm able to get over 60 frames per second. Whether that's by utilizing FSR2 or, using HyperRX with RSR enabled, one way or another, I'm able to get over 60 frames a second on this card, like at 4K. Some games are easily native. I'm like my racing games, I'm getting over 120 FPS on those, so that's obviously incredible for that card. I've tested this card with AMD's Fluid Motion Frames driver. I've tested it with FSR3. Just everything that I've been able to throw at this card all week, I've been doing, and I've been doing a lot of it. I've played a lot of games on this. I've tested a lot of stuff, and like the overall feeling that I'm getting for this card is it is well rounded. It's very strong. I've tested ray tracing on this. I've got some ray tracing. I've got a ray tracing video out with Control Remedy. I absolutely believe that that's the best looking ray tracing that I've ever seen. It looks incredible, and this card runs that very well at 1440p native. You're looking at almost 60 frames per second on that game with the ray tracing fully enabled. But if you do choose to upscale that, it still looks incredible, and you can get like way higher frame rate. Even up to 4K, you can still get like a 60 FPS experience by upscaling from 1080p to 4K. Still looks incredible. Still gets way over 60 frames per second. So that's pretty awesome. Games like, Assassin's Creed Valhalla run very well. Assassin's Creed Mirage runs very well on this card on both 4K and 1440p as well as 1080p. I feel like this card, to be completely honest with you, since I've had it and the experience that I've had with this card, with the driver stability, with the overall being able to get in here and create and edit my content over on, because I use Power Director Cyberlink, so running that with Cyberlink has been very, very awesome. It's very smooth. Gets right, like it's easy to get what I need to get done with this card on Cyberlink very easily, and I do like that, because everything that I've needed it for, like live streaming, content creation, playing video games, being able to do pretty much whatever I need to do with this card has been easy. Now I do have this paired with my 5900X, and overall this actually feels like a very optimized platform, with everything, no overclocking, none of that stuff. It's all been stock. I might actually start playing around with overclocking this card during this 30-day review cycle that I've chose to do for this card. I just want people to get the accurate information for these graphics cards, because I don't feel like there's enough people out there doing that. I feel like they all, I don't feel like anybody goes out of their way to do real long-term reviews for these AMD cards as their daily driver, and that's what I'm doing. I want to bring the best content that I can bring for this card, so that you understand what you're buying. And I do believe that this is a very great experience. Like I'm getting 1440p at high refresh rate. I'm able to still use max settings and all of that and still have a very playable experience. I'm able to utilize virtual super resolution on this card. I like virtual super resolution. A lot of people might not understand this, but I am one of them. I'm one of those gamers that really likes resolution and beautiful graphics and all of that stuff. But at the same time, I still like playable high frame rates too. And as what virtual super resolution has been able to do for me on the 7800 XT is still let me push the card above 4K, like 6K, 8K on some of these games, and then utilize the other tools in the box, like FSR and or some of the other features like RSR or something like that to upscale from lower resolutions, so that they kind of meet in the middle on a 1440p screen, and I get a really dense, beautiful looking visual experience with a playable frame rate above 60 frames per second. And there's kind of my thing. Like that's my sweet spot. That's my balance for me when it comes to my visual quality as well as my playable frame rate. And when I can get that, that's incredible. I'm able to do that. I'm able to maximize my visual quality as well as my frame rate and still have a very good looking experience. And if you saw this, you would be like, yeah, that definitely looks better than DLSS. It just does. So other things about this card, like AMD's fluid motion frames, does run very well on this, especially at 1440p. If you're at 1440p using the AMD's fluid motion frames, with all of the games that I've tested, every single one of them have been above 60, 70, even 80 frames per second, 90, up to 100. Once you start getting into higher frame rate with AMD's fluid motion frames, that's when the everything starts to get really, really good. The lower the frame rate, you will kind of get like a little bit of judder, but once you get higher frame rates, it just looks absolutely incredible. Playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 at 400 frames a second using AMD's fluid motion frames, very, very cool. Very cool. Like you get a very smooth, extremely you're not even getting a lot of latency, and I do use a controller a lot for all of my video gaming. So when I'm using a controller, any added latency that I'm getting out of using AMD's fluid motion frames, I'm not necessarily able to feel that, because it already feels better than what 60 frames per second feels like. The higher your frame rate, your base frame rate, when you get in there, you still basically keep that and maybe even a little bit more. If you're using like Anti-Lag Plus or Hyper RX at the same time, you'll be able to utilize all of these tools in like simultaneously to be able to give you the best overall experience. And like there are some nitpicks when it comes to AMD's fluid motion frames, but it's not enough to make you be like, oh yeah, this is terrible. Like this is actually a really good feature, and to be able to use that on all DX11 and DX12 games, as well as like all of these newer games that are coming out, it transforms the experience in a good way, in a way that like you're like, okay, yeah, this feels good. With mouse and keyboard, it's not as good as it is with a controller. I definitely feel like you'll get the best bang for your buck, and your experience will be better if you are utilizing a controller while you're playing this. But yeah, like my experience with like mouse and keyboard with it is it just kind of, it doesn't feel as snappy as playing a game without mouse and keyboard, if that makes sense. I know a lot of PC guys will be like, yeah, man, like when you move and it feels snappy with a mouse and keyboard. It doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like that with a mouse and keyboard. It definitely is something that you'll want to use with a controller. Editing has been absolutely incredible with this card. I haven't had any issues. I haven't had any problems. Everything, I'm able to get into Cyberlink Power Director. I'm able to load all my videos. I'm able to play through my videos. I'm able to watch them, play back, edit, cut things out, add things in. Everything I need to do with this card is absolutely just fine. Now I want to kind of compare this to the 7900 XT for just a few minutes. The 7900 XT, when I bought that card, same thing. Like I was like, yeah, this is my 1440p card. And after utilizing the 7800 XT, I now look at the 7900 XT is more of a 4K card. Because the 7900 XT has never let me down at 4K yet. I mean, it's always been able to do that, like no problem. Some games I have to use FSR, some games I don't, but for the majority of games, I can usually play them over 60 frames a second at 4K with my 7900 XT. So it puts the 7800 XT in an interesting place when you compare it to like the 7900 XT, especially like price to performance wise. I definitely get significantly higher 4K performance out of the 7900 XT. I definitely get higher scalability with virtual super resolution with the 7900 XT. So those two benefits alone, and the better ray tracing quality with the 7900 XT, being able to run most of that stuff at 4K and still be able to get like pretty good experience out of that. So yes, there is a big enough gap between the 7800 XT and 7900 XT in my gaming experience to pretty much justify the cost of the 7900 XT for me. But at the same time, I kind of feel like the 7800 XT is a little bit underpriced. I feel like it could have been, I feel like this card could have been $600 and still did okay. But with the pricing the way it is, I think AMD did themselves a favor. And I also think that this is good for trying to win customers back, to try to bring people into the ecosystem, because I 100% believe the 7800 XT is the best mid-range GPU this generation, hands down. And I haven't tried any of the NVIDIA 40 series cards, and I don't really think I need to. I haven't really, I mean, I've thought about it multiple times, but I'm not going to do that. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm happy with AMD. I'm happy with the AMD's Adrenaline software. I'm happy with the experience that I've been able to have. Like, I'm happy with this. Like, I'm literally happy with the AMD experience. Like, I don't have any desire to run out and get an NVIDIA graphics card. Like, I'm pretty content. And that's a good thing, when you can buy a product and be content with that and not feel like, oh my gosh, this one's better. I know. And see, here's the thing. 7800 XT, 7900 XT, we know that the 4090 and the 7900 XTX and all of these cards are better. Like, we know that. But I feel like I'm getting a good enough experience with what I have for the price that I'm happy with that. Like, I don't feel negative about that. And I don't think that you would feel negative about that either if you were to pick up a 7900 or 7800 XT. I feel like this is a good experience. At games like Dying Light or Dead Island 2, I'm getting over 120 frames a second. Call of Duty, I'm getting way high frames, like 135 or 150 or something. I don't remember. It's just ridiculously high. All of these frame rates that I'm getting with these games, I'm just like, wow, this is incredible. Like, this feels good and it looks incredible. And those are my two things. I like it to look incredible and I like it to play great. So I approve of the 7800 XT. I think this is a very good card and definitely worth the money. I actually feel like you're getting a steal buying this card. So if you can find one and snag one up, I definitely recommend it. So if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next one, and thank you so much for watching.